So I guess what has been daunting for myself, and I can probably speak for other Amazon sellers as well, is all the accounts are getting deactivated, right? And a lot of it has to do with someone buying some inauthentic product from a supplier, and then Amazon, of course, links that sold unit to all other sellers that are selling that unit, and it's all like a big web, and then
Yeah.
people get their accounts deactivated. And I was telling you, my VA last year when she was doing the wholesale research for me, she came up on this distributor called Asian Beauty, I think is what it's called. Um, she told me, "Hey, I know a lot of other distributors that also buy from this distributor." I went on their website and I was selling beauty products at the time, and it was just some of the prices were just too damn good to be true. And sure enough, like I'm in this Facebook group that whenever someone gets deactivated, they kind of show who they bought it from and whatnot.
Mhm.
And one of them was Asian Beauty. Uh, don't quote me Asian Beauty. It might be like Asian something. But nonetheless, that kind of stuff, it just kind of makes
Yeah.
me kind of push back on starting wholesale just because I'm not versed enough to really legitimize a supplier and distributor. So what are your tips? I know you kind of briefly touched up on it earlier by checking their registration, business registration address and whatnot. Can you dive deeper into how to just find a credible supplier?
Yeah. So number one, like I've changed up my vetting like processes over the past seeing so many deactivations. CSM brand review section threes. I
Yeah,
mean, even I had section three and
you
beat
did.
it. I had CSM. It was for Nike though. It made no sense. I just submitted all my invoices there from authorized distributors. Obviously, I'm not buying from wholesalers for Nike.
Right.
Like they're from retailers. So I'm just like, all right, here's the proof. Here's all the tracking. Here's the delivery emails. And if you give them what they want in a nice form and do the
Right.
video review, you'll beat it. But the thing is, a lot of people do things unethically, or they forge documents, and they buy it from a friend and then they don't have documents and then they're screwed.
Yeah.
That's one way that you can really harm yourself by doing it that way. But always buy from authorized sources. So that's the tip number one. But like I said, going back, I changed up my processes. I like going through brands first through
Mhm.
Smart Scout and then work my way down. So like I won't target crazy high performing brands if I want to do brand direct. Like if I really want to try for a brand direct, I'll target smaller and medium sized brands. You could filter by revenue to get smaller and medium size.
Okay.
But if I just want wholesale accounts and authorized distributors, you could target whatever revenue because you're going to get people like, Neutrogena, Clinique obviously got, harsher restrictions and all that stuff. But if you want to target the very popular brands, you're going to go to the J&J, the Unilever, those types of companies and, call them. But as for like other vetting processes besides just asking for regional authorized distributors, or ADs is what I call it, I like to look into the website. I'll even look up the URL and look up the domain of when it was created. So there's actually a place called Pack Distribution that everybody talks about. I think they're an ASD supplier. They were somehow got my email. I don't know how. And they like started sending me stuff. And I looked up the URL and it was like created 2 months ago, like the website. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to buy from them. That doesn't look good. If they cater to Amazon, usually it's a red flag. It's usually like liquidation, stuff like that, which generally doesn't have supply chain. Like I said before, unless they are affiliated with Amazon and can provide me proof that they buy from liquidations from Amazon, then I probably wouldn't even want to touch it. But liquidations from Amazon can still be fake items from other sellers. So it's
Right.
like I don't want to deal with that. So I like going brand direct, ask for regional distributors, and then my vetting process would be look into the URL, see who the domain was created by. You might be able to see the LLC, then backtrack the LLC, and just look up who the owner is, stuff like that. You can even ask for supply chain. If they don't give it to you, then it's probably not worth pursuing. Going through trade shows is a good way to go about it. So if you go to like Expo West, it's very brand heavy. So you're
Mhm.
working directly with brands. So there's not really much of a risk through that. But if you go to ASD, there are lots of liquidators, overstock suppliers, stuff like that. So you do need to make sure you're getting it from authentic sources. And yeah, if you have good communication, there's a lot of other like nitty gritty stuff with vetting processes. But if they have good communication, if they respond to emails, they have a sales team, it's generally a good sign. If they're
Right.
like catering to Amazon sellers and providing massive lists of, Amazon ASINs, it's probably a red flag.
Like I said, when I was looking into wholesale last year, I think the safest route was what you mentioned. If you go to the brand direct first and ask who their regional distributors are, those are probably your safest bet
Yeah.
versus someone who messaged you on Instagram with a Telegram and whatnot.
Yeah, Telegram is a big no. Even WhatsApp, I don't like.
But even just like a local supplier, let's say you found a local supplier, how can you vet them and connect them with the brand that they're selling? Can you reach out to that brand and be like, hey, do you sell to this X local supplier?
Yeah, I would simply ask the supplier, like, oh, do you buy from the brand directly or do you buy from an authorized distributor? And if they say, yeah, just say, like, okay, which distributor? And if they don't tell you, it's probably a bad sign.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't want to work. Maybe they're selling on Amazon themselves and they just don't want to tell you. There's lots of ASD suppliers that sell on Amazon themselves. And that's why they don't work with Amazon sellers. They're just going to look for B2B connections at those types of trade shows. You can go straight to the distributor and say, hey, do you work with so-and-so? They're located here. This is their address. I want to make sure I'm buying from authentic sources. But yeah, that's a great way.
I like to talk more in relevancy to new sellers. I'm sure there's a lot of experienced sellers who are also listening to this. But since you have such a large experience with both OA, online arbitrage, and wholesale, for a new seller, do you think they should start selling straight to wholesale right now, or still begin with online arbitrage, despite how complex and difficult it's starting to lean towards with all the fees and competition and whatnot?
I think with all the fees and everything now, I think what someone who's brand new should do is sell one product. And I learned this from Scott Needham, who owns Smart Scout.
Yeah.
You literally should just go to a Nike outlet or go to a store that's an authorized distributor, brand, or whatever. Find one retail arbitrage product that is from, I would probably say a Nike item because you're most safest with Nike, because brands can still send IP complaints, and just FBM one item and understand the process of how it works. That's it. Learn how to do that. I'm not saying dive into retail arbitrage first, because you are going to you will deal with brands and stuff like that with IP complaints, which you should have like IP alert or Keepa for those vetting processes. But I wouldn't jump right into wholesale. And it's actually funny because I got a DM today from someone saying, hey, I want to put in a big order from this distributor. Can you take a look at it? Sends me a website of a major liquidator. He's asking me how to ungate. And I'm like, you want to put in a 5K order with a distributor you don't even vet at all, and then you don't know how to ungate? And
what did you find? How did you know it was a red flag that it was a liquidator?
It's very notorious for like not wanting, you don't want to buy from this supplier. It's called Pallet Fly.
Oh, okay. So you knew of the site?
Yes. I think everyone in the major wholesale space should stay away from it. But this guy seems like he was in 2 YouTube videos and then found a website off. He might have found something off like Wholesale Central and is like, oh, if it's on Wholesale Central, it's a reliable supplier. But that doesn't mean it's a reliable supplier. Unfortunately, if you follow a bunch of people on social media and YouTube, you might get misinformation. And even if it is credible information, it doesn't mean the suppliers are credible either. So you do have to go a long way. And I think just selling one product through FBM will get you to understand the process. Join free communities, obviously. Like, everyone has free communities nowadays. You can get a lot of info. Don't go and buy something that crazy without even knowing the ungating process is what was wild to me. Ungate first, and then then worry about it. Start with the small stuff. I definitely think FBMing one product should be everyone's first task.
Right. It is not, honestly, not even just one. I think I've always said, learning the process first before you do anything else is important. And that takes not only just FBM once, but 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I still recall back to when I first started Amazon, and I started with private label, and it felt so different and foreign to me, the dashboard, how to do things, what the process is like. I can only imagine just jumping straight into wholesale in that aspect. I mean, I think starting with private label and experiencing Amazon for the first time might be the most daunting experience. But in general, if you get that first FBM order or even FBA out there and see that sale, it'll really build your confidence to where you'll want to keep on doing it. It's kind of addicting as well. But go ahead.
And I think there's less risk with private label too, because it's your brand. No one's you're not really
in that
selling
aspect.
That aspect. We're wholesale. It's if you jump into wholesale, you might sell a brand and then get IP complaints or get inauthentics. People buy from Walmart for online arbitrage and they don't realize they buy from a third party, and that's inauthentic goods from China. Their account gets shut down right away, and then there's nothing you could do, and then their whole career with Amazon's done. So there's lots of risk, which with arbitrage, whether it's wholesale arbitrage or, you know, brand direct, obviously no risk, private label, no risk. But with arbitrage, definitely, you know, buying from a credible source first and FBMing, like you said, even if it's an ungate, you have 10 items. I did socks from Eastbay. That was my first 10 sales. I
Me
probably
too.
took a loss on all of them.
Funny you should say that, because that's my one inauthentic complaint that I had to acknowledge, because my VA had got the lead from a Walmart lead, and I didn't vet it. I should have vetted it, but it didn't say Walmart, shipped and sold by Walmart. It was a third party from Walmart. No matter how much like invoices, quote unquote, that I got from Walmart, they would not budge. And it was because they went on that listing and saw that it's
Mhm.
from so and so. So I needed to get invoice from so and so. I
Yeah.
reached out to him. He was banned on Walmart. So like it was just, yeah, that was the one time. So
Yeah, I think there was a big one. It was It Cosmetics, which got restrictions. That was
which
a
one?
huge It Cosmetics. It was a
It or E?
huge It
Oh, okay.
Cosmetics was like a major sale on Walmart, and it looked like a reasonable price, and you know,
Okay.
30%, 20% margin on Amazon, but it was Chinese suppliers
Yes.
on Walmart. Luckily for me, I FBM the product and I noticed it, and I actually caught it real fast. And my first complaint was like, "Oh, I think this is, you know, not the right product I received." And then I went back, checked, and I immediately refunded the person. So even I did it, but that was in the beginning. I made a mistake. You know, I bought 10,
Right.
10 items or 12 items, and I returned them immediately. By the time I went back to return it, like you said, like suppliers probably banned already.